It's imperative to always remember that baseball brings us together.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I'm a diehard Marlins fan, and I've podcasted about the team for the last 4 seasons. You can find me on Twitter at Jeremiah Geiger2, and thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And on today's show, I'm going to open the first segment up a little bit differently than I usually do. There's still going to be Marlins talk in the second and third segment. We're going to talk about possible additions and the Arizona Fall League roster. But I wanted to open up the show by talking about what baseball means. And it's America's pastime. And at difficult points in history, baseball brings people together. This isn't a political show by any means. This is about the Miami Marlins. This is about baseball. But if you're watching the news, if you've been scrolling on Twitter today, you'll know what happened. You'll know there was a serious event, and there's a lot of hate. There's a lot of discourse. There's a lot out there. And what I wanted to do is take a few minutes and just reflect on what baseball does for people, for communities, and for our country of the United States of America. The sport of baseball has been around since the late 1800s. You know, when you were a kid, you learned Abner Doubleday invented the game of baseball. I'm not sure if that's actually correct. Maybe I'm reading something. I read something a long time ago that he, in fact, didn't create it. Somebody else did. I digress. But the point being is that it's a very old sport. And the nickname for baseball is America's pastime. America's pastime. Generations of people have loved, have breathed this sport, have supported from birth to death their favorite baseball team, and their lives have circulated around, yes, all the other memories, their career choices, their avenues, but they played the game. They enjoy watching the game. It becomes a part of people's lives. And it's 2025, and baseball's still going strong. I'm a Marlins fan. If you're watching this episode, if you're tuned in today, you're probably a Marlins fan too. Maybe you saw the 1997-2003 World Series. I was 1 year old in 2003. I didn't get to see that, or at least remember it. Maybe my parents had it on the TV. I don't know. But besides that, I've seen losing season after losing season with the Marlins. I saw the 2020 COVID wildcard team. I saw the 2023 postseason team, and that's about it. Not a lot of winning. And I don't watch baseball because I have to support a winning team. I have to be the champion. Otherwise, I don't think I'd be a Marlins fan. I'm a diehard Marlins fan. I say this every introduction to every episode on here. I'm a diehard Marlins fan through thick and thin. And many of you are the same way. Even if you're watching the show and you're not a baseball or you're not a Marlins fan, you're probably a baseball fan of some team. And what happens when you're a fan of this baseball team? When you're a Marlins fan and you interact with fellow Marlins fans, do you care about their political beliefs? Do you care about their religion? You have the thing in common that brings you to interact with these people, that has you in the stands together, a perfect stranger. It could be a perfect stranger. and there's a walk-off home run hit, and you're turning around and you're yelling and you're screaming and you're high-fiving everyone around you. It's the sport. It's caring about the Marlins. It's caring about the game. And that's what I think people have to remember. In American history, baseball's been a big part of our country's past. Look at 1947 and Jackie Robinson, who broke the color barrier, and Branch Rickey, the courage that Jackie had at that time period to take a stand and be courageous and stand up for what was right. Look at 1976, when there were a couple of individuals in the outfield with an American flag attempting to set it on fire. And who ran out there and grabbed the flag away from them so that they would not set the stars and stripes on fire? His name was Rick Monday. Now, unless you're a complete baseball statistical nerd who've memorized every stat, in 1976, can you tell me off the top of your head how many home runs or RBIs Rick Monday had? Because I can't, unless I look it up. But I can tell you what Rick Monday is remembered for. And that's integral parts of our country, of standing up for what's right. And it involves baseball. And those are just two examples. And people, I mean, every April, we have Jackie Robinson Day. No matter who you are, what you do for a living, the game of baseball is here. And that's what it should all be about. I care about the Marlins. If you care about the Marlins, then we have something in common right there. And if you're a Braves fan, you're a Mets fan, guess what? We can still have competitive and friendly discourse about our two favorite teams. And it doesn't go further than that. Because at the end of the day, guys, it's a game. And sometimes in life, when you're going through tough times, when, behind the scenes, you're in financial trouble, your life's not where you want it to be, sometimes that's when you need the sport of baseball even more. And so avoid the hateful rhetoric, avoid the drama that goes far beyond the game. And remember that baseball, this sport, America's pastime, brings us together. It brings our country together. And that's what's so beautiful about this game. Because there's nothing better than going off to the ballpark in a warm summer evening. You got your hot dog. You feel the breeze. You hear the crack of the bat. The ball, when it just, that perfect smack into the catcher's mitt on a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. You see the dirt. You got the outfield. You have a beautiful, beautiful park that you're in. Good seats. That's what it's all about. It's those moments. It's that sport. So I want everybody to remember that, especially today, especially during this time. The Marlins, they're not going to the playoffs this season, but I've had a great time on this podcast every day, every weekday, talking about this team, what they should do. You guys leave me mailbag questions. There's interactions, there's comments, there's disagreements, but it all goes back to the sport, the game. Please remember that, everybody. Coming up next, Craig Mish said today on Twitter that he anticipates additions this offseason. Who are those additions? Looking at the free agent class, we're going to explore some hypothetical options that the Marlins can do this offseason to improve their roster. That's coming up after this. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel's great because it fits however you want to bet, whether that's player props, you want to go with the money line, a same-game parlay, or you're watching a game and you just have a hunch that this player is going to score a touchdown, you can do live action bets as well. They've got it all, and it's super exciting. It's quick, easy, and it's the best way to add some more energy to an already energetic NFL Sunday. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, that actually works. There's so many products out there, and it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. That's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. And it's not just hype. This is a supplement clinically tested that targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. If you know somebody that has some hair loss and they've been exploring different options, then I encourage you, tell them about Nutrafol and get them on board with this, because whether you're at work, out with friends, or even just getting ready in the morning, Nutrafol gives you more confidence in your daily routine. See thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. And for a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month's subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. I appreciate all the everyday listeners who make tuning in to Locked On Marlins part of their daily routine. Craig Mish, Marlins insider, said today on Twitter he anticipates additions this offseason as well. And so I took a look at the potential free agents after the 2025 season. Of course, there's club options, mutual options. It's not all unrestricted free agents, but I want to take a look at who the Marlins realistically could go after. First of all, we have to see where the Marlins' pressing needs are, because I don't think it would make a ton of sense to go out and sign an impending free agent catcher to a big contract. You have Joe Mack waiting in the wings. It makes a lot of sense to just hold off right there. You don't need any new bodies in the catching room. You got Agustin Ramirez, although his defense, that's you know how I feel about his defense. It's not very good. You have Joe Mack in AAA. You have Liam Hicks. I think they're good at catcher. The other position I'm pretty good on right now. I don't need to see any new players added to this room is the outfield. When a healthy Kyle Stowers returns and Jacob Marcy in center field, you have a plethora of internal options for that third and final outfield spot, whether that's left or right, wherever you want to put Stowers. You have Dane Myers, who you want to see rebound after a rough season. You have in AAA right now, Kemp Alderman, who I talked about on a previous show, who I think can be really, really good and an above average major leaguer. There's more depth in the Marlins outfield. Griffin Conine, who is in rehab right now in Jacksonville and is very, very soon, he's going to make his return to the Marlins lineup. They got a lot of guys internally. I don't think they're going to go off and try to sign an outfielder or trade for one, rather. First base is interesting to me. And that's kind of the position I have circled on in my notes. Where do the Marlins go into 2026 with their first base situation? How do they view it? Do you rock with Eric Wagaman again? And he's gotten a ton of playing time, and he's hit better over the last month or so. Do you give Troy Johnston the everyday job there? Do you platoon Wagaman and Troy and just run it back? I don't necessarily think that's the avenue to go. If you're going to sign a free agent, and of course, this isn't saying that Craig Mish said they would. That he didn't even mention free agents. He just said additions. But I'm using this as a free agency discussion because I do think the fan base of the Marlins needs to see some more spending. The Marlins and Bruce Sherman need to spend some more money. Josh Naylor is the guy I'm looking at to be a potential free agent signing. And this might be the most unrealistic option that I'm going to bring up, but I just wanted to. I just see it. He's got an expiring contract. He was a rental traded from the Diamondbacks to the Mariners. He's 28 years old. That's a pipe dream. But it could happen if the Marlins are serious about contending in 2026, if they believe internally, like, hey, we hit a rough patch at the beginning of August. We had a bad month. We got hit with some injuries, but a couple of pieces here and there and good health, a clean bill of health, we can make a run at the postseason next year. Then I think Josh Naylor is a candidate to get a contract. Would it be risky? Sure. But every contract you sign is risky. What would he command? Is it above the Marlins payroll? Probably. He signed a 1-year, pretty much $11 million contract with the Diamondbacks. He avoided arbitration this past season. He's probably going to be looking for a multi-year deal. That's just how it works. You want that stability. You can't blame him. The Marlins last multi-year deal, it burnt them with Avisail Garcia. We all know how that went. Disaster. $54 million down the drain. Jorge Soler, the 3 years, $30 million, I believe. That worked out pretty well. He got you to the playoffs at least. Is this the season the Marlins spend some money? They open up the wallet. Because if first base is your biggest concern, and I think it is, because the current first baseman, Eric Wagman, Troy Johnston, Liam Hicks, those aren't really moving the needle for you. This might be the opportunity to go out and make a run at Josh Naylor. Put the money where your mouth is and offer him a contract. Be in discussions with his agent. Just see where the pricing is. The other hole I see is third base. Third base, it's in flux, I would say. I'm very much anticipating the return of Graham Pauley. Connor Norby's on the injured list. He's had a brutal season offensively, defensively, although his return, his second stint on the IL, when he came back from that a couple of weeks ago, he was actually hitting pretty well. So maybe he's the third baseman. Graham Pauley, Connor Norby, you platoon them at third. I really like Graham Pauley's glove. If he hits well when he comes back for the last couple of weeks, hopefully, then I'd feel much better about third base because of his defense and the improvement of his bat than I did at the beginning of the season. Or rather, midway through the season, because at the beginning of the season, I had a lot of hope for Connor Norby. It just hasn't panned out. And maybe he's still that guy, but I have my doubts. First base is that position. Shortstop, second base, you have Otto, who is a 3-WAR player. Xavier Edwards, contact hitter, prototypical leadoff guy. I think you'd pencil him in there. He's cheap. He doesn't need a big contract. You're kind of set for that middle infield for the foreseeable future. And then in the minors, hopefully Iva Arquette proves to be that guy as your first round pick. But I mean, this team's not going to go out and break the bank. They never do that. And it shouldn't be expected of them to do that. Kyle Schwarber. Oh, we could get Kyle Schwarber as a DH, put Augustine Ramirez to first. That's unrealistic. Schwarber's going to get a huge contract. Kyle Tucker in the outfield, huge contract. We're Marlins fans. I'm an optimist, but we have to be realists at the same time. I do think it's in the realm of possibility, although unlikely. And I know I prefaced this whole segment by saying realistic options, but I couldn't help myself when it came to Josh Naylor because I just really like him as a ball player. I think he's a really good hitter. And the ironic part of it, he was a Marlins draft pick, first round draft pick years ago. So it would come all the way full circle for him to sign a multi-year deal with the Marlins. But the minor league depth at first base, it's not there. Whether you're a believer in Davis and De Los Santos, there are questions there. And Eric Wagaman, Troy Johnston, Liam Hicks, do you trust those three for an entire season and expect tangible improvement? So right now, the Marlins are comfortably below 500. You're going to need to see upgrades somewhere for this team to get better. And so that's the position I have circled, and I'd love to see them go make a move. I don't think pitching is a pressing need. Now there's never enough pitching. Of course, that's an old adage. It's a very true statement. Injuries are going to happen. But with Thomas White and Robbie Snelling, who I believe is ready right now, Snelling's ready. I think the Marlins are in a good position with their starting pitching. You're going to have options to choose from. I wouldn't be opposed to another cheap deal for a starter, an innings eater that hopefully proves to be better than Cal Quantrill. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Marlins just stay pat because you have Braxton Garrett back. You're going to have Ryan Weathers. You will have Yuri, which will be his second season off of Tommy John surgery. Sandy Alcantara the same way. You can expect more leaps and bounds from them. And then Thomas White, Robbie Snelling waiting in the wings. There's a good deal of options. I didn't even mention Jansen Junk, who I think is going to compete for a rotation spot. Max Meyer, what do you do with him? A lot of options there. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the Arizona Fall League roster. The Fall League roster has just been released. There's a few Marlins on here that I think their appearance on this roster and their participation in the Arizona Fall League is going to be very exciting for fans. That's coming up right after this. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. You got the energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person, and we're almost done with the 2025 season. So if you want to go to Lone Depot Park and go catch a Marlins game, then I encourage you to get your tickets using Gametime. It's the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. And the best part about Gametime is the all-in pricing. The price you see, that number is exactly what you're going to pay at checkout. There's no hidden fees. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. But also remember, you can listen to the show wherever you are. We're on all the major podcast platforms out there. The Marlins participants in the Arizona Fall League, we got some good names we got to talk about today. Let's start with the pitchers. 4 pitchers in the Marlins organization will be pitching for the 2025 Mesa Solar Sox. Aiden May, last year's draft pick out of Oregon State. Carson Milbrandt, who I had an interview with here on the show a couple of weeks ago. Xavier Meacham, a right-hander, and Darwin Rodriguez, another right-hander. And I'll be completely transparent with you. I don't know much of anything about Darwin Rodriguez. So I got to do some research on that end. But Carson Milbrandt, he told me on the show he was going to pitch in the Arizona Fall League. And I think that's awesome because he just got promoted to Double-A. He's had a career season for high A Beloit. That's perfect. That's exactly what you want him to get more reps. He's still young. He's still got room to grow as a pitcher, and he's going to get another opportunity against some other really good prospects around baseball to continue dominating. He's showcasing some really good stuff. He's got a great fastball. If you haven't heard the interview, you should go check it out. But yeah, I'm really excited for Carson Milbrandt for the Arizona Fall League. Aiden May is another guy who I think this is going to prove to be beneficial for. He's somebody that struggles with command, and he might end up slotting into the bullpen long term. That's probably the scenario for Aiden May. And I wouldn't be opposed because he's got a really, really good slider. One of the best sliders in the 2024 draft out of college. I'm a big Aiden May fan. I hope they move him to the bullpen because of the walks. He does struggle with those walks, but he can be a weapon if the organization continues to work with him and just develop him as a pitcher. Pitched in Jupiter, made his organizational debut this season. Actually, he hadn't pitched last season when he got drafted. Going to the hitter side. Now this is pretty interesting. You have Starlin Caba, PJ Morlando, and Fenwick Trimble. Those are the three representatives for the Marlins offensively. Fenwick Trimble has had he's had a quietly impressive season. He was a draft pick from a season ago, a college bat, and he's got pretty good numbers, hitting .257, OBP of .378, slugging .402, WRC plus of 134, 6 bombs, 27 stolen bases. And this is the most encouraging part of Fenwick Trimble's game, is his walk rate and his strikeout rate. I don't think enough people pay attention to these stats because his ability to draw walks and not chase, not give away at bats, and not strike out is impressive. This season, 14.4% walk rate, 18.9% strikeout rate. Jacob Marcy had similar numbers with that walk rate, and we all know how great his eye is at the plate. I think Fenwick Trimble is somebody to keep an eye on in the Arizona Fall League. PJ Morlando. Oh, PJ Morlando. I'm going to be honest. I've been disappointed with Morlando's tenure with the Marlins so far. And I think it's good that he's getting another opportunity after the season ends to showcase his stuff and show strides in his development, because on the field, he struggled. 215 in the minors, 226 in low A, just 5 homers. He is walking. That's good. But he's also striking out at a higher clip than I'd like to see. 27% strikeout rate in low A Jupiter. And you look at the guys that were taken ahead of him in the draft, or after him in the draft, rather, Ryan Waldschmidt, Carson Benj. There's a lot of pressure on PJ Morlando to prove to the organization that they made the correct draft pick, because right now, the bat to ball, it worries me. It worries me in terms that he's not going to have enough of a batting average, enough of a low or a high enough floor to justify that draft pick all the way at number 16 in the 2024 first round. So Morlando, I like that he's getting this opportunity, but there's still a lot to prove for him and his development. Starlin Caba, polarizing player. They traded for Jesus Luzardo last offseason. Just about spring training, you had Peter Bendick saying, we think that Starlin Caba can be a superstar. That's high praise. Probably the best glove in baseball. Best pure shortstop there is defensively. Now, is he going to be able to hit enough? Now, he rips off some impressive exit velocities, and that's a good sign. When you hit the ball hard, that's a good sign. You're going to take that all the time. You want guys that hit the ball hard because those are going to lead to base hits. but is he a player that is going to, again, a lot like PJ Morlando, have that floor and have enough of a bat to ball, enough of a hit tool to really progress through the minors and make an impact at the major league level? He doesn't have power. Morlando has that raw power, but Caba's not, even though he has some good EVs, he's not a power hitter. Just one homer across 194 at-bats this season, hitting .222. He does walk a lot. On base percentage, .335. So you really like to see that. I think this is, again, a great addition to the Arizona Fall League, to the Mesa Solar Sox, and give him more opportunities. It's going to be a big season in 2026 for PJ Morlando and Starlin Caba to take strides forward in their development. You can't regress. You can't have regression. You can't stay in the same place. You have to be going forward in order to justify the first round selection for PJ, and then for Caba with that Jesus Luzardo trade. Trading him at the time they did, there's a lot of pressure on Caba to become an impact shortstop, an all-star caliber shortstop. Again, both of those guys, I think the hit tool is the main question. Regardless, it's going to be fun. I can't wait. I live in the Phoenix area, so I'm going to be watching a lot of the Mesa Solar Sox in person. That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Marlins. I appreciate you, everybody who tuned in to today's show. And until next time, guys, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.